Hi, welcome back to Snowdonia Stitches. In today's video I'm going to share with you my top 5 crochet tips that I wish somebody had shared with me or showed me when I was beginning my crochet journey. So go and grab yourself a cuppa and let's get started. The first one is stitch markers. Okay, so there are several types of stitch markers available to you and they come in multi-packs, and you'll get this type of stitch marker that hooks through your work. So let me just take this as an example. Okay, so you just hook it through your stitch like that, and it just stays on just like so. Okay, the other type of stitch marker you can get are these clip ones. Okay, so they open up and then they fasten, a bit like a safety pin, and these just clip onto your stitch, poke it through your stitch and fasten it closed. And these by far are my favourites. My first stitch marker pack was a pack of these loop-in ones, and the amount of times I lost my stitch because when you're working, as you can see, they can just fall out. So it's heartbreaking when you're a beginner and you're working your way through a pattern, it's going really well, you feel like you're getting somewhere, and you're working in the round and you lose your stitch marker, you have to start all over again. Okay, whereas these clips, they don't go anywhere. So that would be my first advice, is to invest in some of these clip style stitch markers. My second tip for you is regarding hook sizes. When I started, I looked at the pattern and it would say you need 4mm crochet hook. So I would toddle off, get my 4mm crochet hook, start making, and it never turned out as the pattern looked. I just could not work out why, and I would try my tension doing it tighter, being looser, still never looked like it did in the book. And as I've gone on crocheting through the years, I've realised that don't take it literally what the pattern says. We all crochet differently, we all have different tensions. Try going down a hook size. So in some of my patterns for the Aragurumi, it will suggest a 4mm crochet hook. I know personally, if I use a 4mm crochet hook with my cotton, it is going to come out too gappy and you'll see the stuffing. So for me personally, I like to use a 3mm crochet hook. That just works for me. But get yourself a collection of crochet hooks and do swatches, play around with it, see how the fabric turns out when you've done a swatch. Is it too gappy? Is it too tight? There's no point doing what I did in the beginning, trying to make my tension tighter or looser to fit in with the pattern, because all that happens is halfway through the pattern, if you start to relax, you're watching telly and you're crocheting away, you'll naturally revert back to your natural tension. So your piece of work will come out with several different tensions through it and it still won't look right. So you're best sticking with your natural tension and adjusting your hook size, and don't take it too literally what the pattern says. So play around with some swatches and keep them and put a little label on them, you know, cotton on a 3mm hook, cotton on a 3.5, cotton on a 4mm, and just keep them handy in a little folder so you can go to, and depending on what projects you're making, see which needle fits that pattern best. Okay, so that is my top tip on crochet hooks. My third tip is safety eyes. Okay, once you know how, it's quite simple. When you're beginning, nobody tells you how to use these. Okay, so, and it comes down to how you apply the backs of the safety eyes, which is really important, because if you apply them the wrong way round, they can come off. You know, I have known them come off even if you apply them the right way round, but people get confused when they're making the toys and they pop the eyes in. Which way do the backs of the safety eyes go in? So you insert your safety eye and your back looks something like this. Okay, it could be different colour, but they're all the same design shape wise. So you can see that it has a flat base and then it has this raised top circle. Okay, and how you want to apply it, you need to put so the raised top circle is actually facing you, okay, and not the narrowest part going down first. Okay, so you don't want the widest part of that back facing you. The widest part faces down towards the fabric and the narrower part faces you, and then you push your back on until you hear it click. Okay, so I hope you can see there. That is the correct way to apply your safety eyes. Moving on to my fourth tip is invest in a crochet pattern book. Okay, as a beginner, I used to follow YouTube a lot, and I used to write patterns down and on scrap pieces of paper, and I thought, oh, I'll remember that. And then you go back next season, you want to make that again, and you can't remember what hook size you used, what yarn you used, or even the exact pattern, because it was that long ago since you made it. So then you either have to go back on YouTube again, watch the whole thing again. So my advice would be to straight away invest in a pattern book. Write your patterns down straight away in the book. That way you're not writing them on scrap bits of paper that can get lost. It's all organised. You have everything you need in here. So say for this one, I'll show you an example. It has everything you need, the projects you're working on, who is it for or what is it for, the date you started, the date you finished, the pattern, design source, the yarn you use, the hook size, the gauge, notes. You can sketch the pattern on this side, and you can write your pattern. I tend to write my whole pattern down on these pages. But they're really, really useful. So as a beginner, I would suggest investing in a crochet journal. My fifth and final tip of the day is, once you have mastered the basic chain and basic stitches, and you've done a few square swatches, and you're just starting to feel that you can move on to a project, my advice would be to go and invest in some good quality cotton yarn. Okay, one of my favourites is the James Brett cotton. It works up really nicely. It's very tempting when you're a beginner to go out and buy these crochet magazines, which are fabulous, and I love them, and I have stacks of them. When you're starting, the only thing I would say is the acrylic yarn that they provide in the kits on the front of these packs. It provides you with a plastic needle, a plastic crochet hook, and really cheap acrylic yarn a lot of the time. And when you start, you're very eager, and you can see this picture of this lovely amigurumi animal or whatever the gift is on the front of the magazine. It's like, yes, I'm going to make this and it's going to look amazing, and you get cracking and the yarn's splitting everywhere, and or you get halfway through, you haven't got enough yarn because you've made that many mistakes and you have to keep cutting it. And the end result when you use that yarn is not going to be how it looks in the book. The pictures are edited, it makes it look nicer. When you've been on these crochet Facebook pages and you see everybody's lovely amigurumi projects, and it just doesn't look like that. So my advice would be, when you're at the point of actually wanting to make a project, just spend a little bit extra and invest in some nice yarns. It will make the massive difference to your projects. And you won't lose motivation. In the beginning, I lost a lot of motivation, and I was trying to do the amigurumi, and I did start off with those kits on the front of the magazines as well, and it never turned out how I wanted it to. And it wasn't until I realized that actually it's the cotton yarn, it's the hook size that I'm using. They provided it with a 4mm crochet hook. That's not for me. I need to work on a 3mm crochet hook, otherwise my work is too gappy and you can see all the stuff in. So as I've gone on over the years, you learn these things, but that I just wish somebody had told me that in the beginning, to not be afraid to change my hook size regardless of what the pattern says, and to use good quality yarn. The yarn will speak volumes, so it really is worth investing in that. So I really hope you've enjoyed listening to my top 5 tips for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. It helps support the channel and helps me make more videos like this for you. And I shall see you in the next video.